The Tale of Pigling Bland, Part 2. The road crossed a moor. Below was a wide valley with a river twinkling in the moonlight, and beyond, in misty distance, lay the hills. He saw a small wooden hut, made his way to it, and crept inside. "I'm afraid it is a hen house, but what can I do?" said Pigling Bland, wet and cold and quite tired. Bacon and eggs," clucked a hen on a perch. "Trap, trap, trap! Cackle, cackle, cackle!" scolded the disturbed cockerel. To market, jiggity jig!" clucked a broody white hen roosting next to him. Pigling Bland, much alarmed, determined to leave at daybreak. In the meantime, he and the hens fell asleep. In less than an hour they were all awakened. The owner, Mr. Peter Thomas Pipperson, came with a lantern and a hamper to catch 6 fowls to make to market in the morning. He grabbed the white hen roosting next to the cock. Then his eye fell upon Pigling Bland, squeezed up in the corner. He made a singular remark. "Hello, here's another one," seized Pigling by the scruff of the neck and dropped him into the hamper. Then he dropped in 5 more dirty, kicking, cackling hens upon the top of Pigling Bland. The hamper, containing 6 fowls and a young pig, was no light weight. It was taken downhill unsteadily with jerks. Pigling, although nearly scratched to pieces, contrived to hide the papers and peppermints inside his clothes. At last, the hamper was bumped down upon a kitchen floor, the lid was opened, and Pigling was lifted out. He looked up, blinking, and saw an offensively ugly elderly man, grinning from ear to ear. "This one's come of himself, whatever," said Mr. Pipperson, turning Pigling's pockets inside out. He pushed the hamper into a corner, threw a sack over it to keep the hens quiet, put a pot on the fire, and unlaced his boots. Pigling Bland drew forward a copy stool and sat on the edge of it, shyly warming his hands. Mr. Pipperson pulled off a boot and threw it against the wainscot at the further end of the kitchen. There was a smothered noise. "Shut up," said Mr. Pipperson. Pigling Bland warmed his hands and eyed him. Mr. Pipperson pulled off the other boot and flung it after the first. There was again a curious noise. "Be quiet, will ye?" said Mr. Pipperson. Pigling Bland sat on the very edge of the copy stool. Mr. Pipperson fetched meal from the chest and made porridge. It seemed to Pigling that something at the further end of the kitchen was taking a suppressed interest in the cooking, but he was too hungry to be troubled by noises. Mr. Pipperson poured out 3 platefuls, for himself, for Pigling, and a third. After glaring at Pigling, he put away with much guffling and locked up. Pigling Bland ate his supper discreetly. After supper, Mr. Pipperson consulted an almanac and felt Pigling's ribs. It was too late in the season for curing bacon, and he grudged his meal. Besides, the hens had seen this pig. He looked at the small remains of a flitch, and then looked undecidedly at Pigling. "You may sleep on the rug," said Mr. Peter Thomas Pipperson. Pigling Bland slept like a top. In the morning, Mr. Pipperson made more porridge. The weather was warmer. He looked to see how much meal was left in the chest, and seemed dissatisfied. "You'll likely be moving on again," said he to Pigling Bland. Before Pigling could give a reply, a neighbor, who was giving Mr. Pipperson and the hens a lift, whistled from the gate. "Shh!" Mr. Pipperson hurried out with the hamper, enjoining Pigling to shut the door behind him and not meddle with naught. "Or I'll come back and skin ye," said Mr. Pipperson. It crossed Pigling's mind that if he had asked for a lift too, he might still have been in time for market. But he distrusted Peter Thomas. After finishing breakfast at his leisure, Pigling had a look around the cottage. Everything was locked up. He found some potato peelings in a bucket in the back of the kitchen. Pigling ate the peel and washed out the porridge plates in the bucket. He sang while he worked. Tom with his pipe made such a noise. He called up all the girls and boys, and they all ran to hear him play over the hills and far away. Suddenly, a little smothered voice chimed in. Over the hills and a great way off, the wind shall blow my top knot off. Pigling Bland put down a plate which he was wiping and listened. After a long pause, Pigling went on tiptoe and peeped around the door into the front kitchen. There was nobody there. After another pause, Pigling approached the door of the locked cupboard and snuffed at the keyhole. It was quite quiet. After another long pause, Pigling pushed a peppermint under the door. It was sucked in immediately. In the course of the day, Pigling pushed in all the remaining 6 peppermints. When Mr. Piperson returned, he found Pigling sitting before the fire. He had brushed up the hearth and put on the pot to boil. The meal was not get-atable. Mr. Piperson was very affable. He slapped Pigling on the back, made lots of porridge, and forgot to lock the meal chest. He did lock the cupboard door, but without properly shutting it. He went to bed early and told Pigling upon no account to disturb him next day before 12 o'clock. Pigling Bland sat by the fire eating his supper. All at once, at his elbow, a little voice spoke. My name is Pigwig. Make me more porridge, please. Pigling Bland jumped and looked around. A perfectly lovely little black Berkshire pig stood smiling beside him. She had twinkly little screwed-up eyes, a double chin, and a short turned-up nose. She pointed at Pigling's plate. He hastily gave it to her and fled to the meal chest. How did you come here? Asked Pigling Bland. Stolen, replied Pigwig, with her mouth full. Pigling helped himself to a meal without scruple. What for? Bacon, hams, replied Pigwig cheerfully. Why on earth don't you run away? Exclaimed the horrified Pigling. I shall after supper, said Pigwig decidedly. Pigling Bland made more porridge and watched her shyly. She finished a second plate, got up, and looked about her, as though she were going to start. You can't go in the dark, said Pigling Bland. Pigwig looked anxious. Do you know your way by daylight? I know we can see this little white house from the hills across the river. Which way are you going, Mr. Pig? To market. I have 2 pig papers. I might take you to the bridge, if you have no objection, said Pigling, much confused and sitting on the edge of his copy stool. Pigwig's gratitude was such, and she asked so many questions, that it became embarrassing to Pigling Bland. He was obliged to shut his eyes and pretend to sleep. She became quiet, and there was a smell of peppermint. I thought you had eaten him, said Pigling, waking suddenly. Only the corners, replied Pigwig, studying the sentiments with much interest at the firelight. I wish you wouldn't. He might smell them through the ceiling, said the alarmed Pigling. Pigwig put back the sticky peppermints into her pocket. Sing something, she demanded. I'm sorry, I have a toothache, said Pigling, much dismayed. Then I will sing, replied Pigwig. You will not mind if I say itty-tittity. I have forgotten some of the words. Pigling Bland made no objection. He sat with his eyes half shut and watched her. And I think we're going to pause here and we'll continue with this story in the next video. Thanks so much for watching. I love you guys. As Tigger says, ta-ta for now.